What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we are taking a look at a different Lost Zone variant. This is going to be Origin Form Dialga VSTAR Lost Box. If you guys don't know, this deck did day 2. It did place top 64, I believe at 49th place. So we're going to be taking a look at this Lost Box variant. If you guys don't know what Dialga VSTAR does, Star Chronos does 220 and you can take another turn. And then Metal Blast does 40 plus 40 for each metal energy on it. So if you set up the Star Chronos, you deal 220, and then if you use Metal Blast without attaching any more energy, then you set up for 200 damage, because you have 40 for each of these, which is 160, plus the 40, which is a total of 200. With the deck, we are running the 4 Comfey as the Flower Selecting Engine. We do have the Zamazenta because you do play the Metal Energy, so Retaliate is super good for you to be able to abuse. We are playing 4 Trekking Shoes. 4 Trekking Shoes is really good as it helps dig through the deck, as well as playing Pokestop. You can make it a 3-3 split if you choose to, but I feel like 4 Shoes is a lot better, simply put because it means that you have more targets to hit off of the Pokestop. And then we are also playing the fun cards like Colress Experiment. We do have 1 Rhyhorn, just so that way you are able to benefit from being KO'd. And then we are running 7 Metal Energy, 1 Psychic, and 3 Water. You could technically go to 6 Metal and 2 Psychic just for the Sableye aspect, but overall everything with this list is super solid. I don't think that there's too much I would change. I think it works out great. Being able to pivot into the Origin Form Dialga VSTAR, use Star Chronos, and then use cards like Colress or Boss's Orders and things like that really does help with what you are trying to do. So as always, the deck list will be posted here so you guys have a full clean view of it. And in the description will also be the deck list for you guys to copy and paste into Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. As always, I want to thank you guys for all the love and support. I apologize for no upload yesterday. I was swamped with statistics homework, and I still currently am, but I decided to take a break and record for you guys because I love you all very much, and you guys do wonders for me. We are pushing the goal of 1,000 subscribers, so if you guys could do me a favor, share this video with a friend. Maybe they can get into the Pokemon TCG and will find this channel helpful. But otherwise, thank you guys for everything, and I'll catch you in the gameplay. Later. Alrighty, guys, let's get right into the very first game with Lost Zone Dialga. Hopefully, we are able to pull off the Dialga, take some extra turns, do what we need to do, and then start doing Lost Zone things. So looking at this starting hand, that is a very optimal start, that is a very great start, and that is a very I enjoy this start. This is the kind of start I wish I had when it comes to Sacramento. So we are playing against Charizard, so I think it's going to be apparent that we get a turn 2-7 off. So I think what we'll do first is Battle VIP Pass. We'll take a look at what's in the prizes. So nothing of too much interest. We do have 1 Comfey prized. We have both Dialga and deck. We have both of those. We do have 2 Colress prized, which is a little bit iffy, but it's not anything that we can't work with. And then we have 6 Metal Energy, plus the 1 in our hand, plus the other one. So our prizes aren't looking too bad. They're a little bit off, but it's not the end of the world. We can still build our Lost Zone, do what we need to do. And we can grab a switch cart just so that way we can start going through everything else now. So we can go Flower Selecting again. I know that I have both Dialgas in the deck, so what we're going to do here is grab the Battle VIP Pass, and then we'll use Battle VIP Pass. We'll grab the Dialga as well as the Comfey. We can go for that Radiant Greninja using concealed cards, hopefully finding ourselves a Colress for the following turn, and if not, it's a-okay. We'll go into the Comfey now, use Flower Selecting once more, and we'll grab the Escape Rope, which means that next turn we can start to pivot into the way that we want to. We'll go Nest Ball into Cramorant just so we can potentially take an early prize attached to the Dialga. And now we'll go for the pass. So Dialga's Metal Coating as well as Temporal Rupture, not going to do too much for us. So we'll see what my opponent grabs off of this Artisan. They do grab Pidgey, so we actually could potentially set up a Greninja play for next turn, which I don't hate the idea of doing. Just means that we have to be able to cycle these two Comfeys. And then we need to find a Colress. Colress is going to be super important for us to find. So we do get a Psychic Energy that we can get rid of. So what we'll do first is use Concealed Cards. We'll get rid of the Psychic. Draw us 2. Not doing too much there, but that's a-okay. So what we'll do is start with the Flower Selecting. We'll grab the Colress because Colress is what we do need. So we can get to 7, which is perfect. And we got the Switch Card, and the Energy. So looking at this, not looking too bad. We do have the 1 Mirage Gate, which will allow us to set up, which means that I'll save the Escape Rope. So we'll go for the Comfey. We'll go Flower Selecting. We'll grab the Raihan, just in case something gets knocked out next turn. And then what we can do... let's see. We can attach... We'll go for the Super Rod just to ensure that we do have the energy in deck. I don't want to risk... whiffing on some energy, so we have these 2 that we can go for. We'll keep the Psychic in the deck, and we do have some metals in hand, so we can go here, and then what we can do is set up the Radiant Greninja. We can use that Moonlight Shuriken, go 90 and 90. If my opponent sets up Pidgeot, I don't really mind that, so then we'll get rid of it. The 2 energy here. And we can get ourselves 2 prize cards, grabbing a Switch Cart, which helps to fuel the Lost Zone. And then maybe a Colress here. And we get a Battle VIP Pass, so we know that we have 2 Colresses in the deck. So it's going to really come down to what my opponent does here. If we do have the potential to possibly set up another Greninja, be perfectly fine. We know that we have 2 switching cards in our hand, and we know that we have at least 1 water left in the deck. So... there's a Charmander coming out. Ultra Ball, so my opponent can potentially go into the Pidgeot. And considering they got rid of a Rare Candy, they probably have another one in hand. So there's the Rare Candy into the Pidgeot. And next turn, I think I'm going to want to try to get to 10. That way I can just try and Lost Mine these Charmanders. But either way, if my opponent doesn't bench anything, we do have the Escape Rope, which can bring up the Charmander, and then we can just use Cramorant with the Spit Innocently. There's an Iono. Not looking too bad for us. I think we're okay with that. And we have some more cards that we can draw with. So there's a Nest Ball. And my opponent grabs Arceus, so this is going to be super awkward for them. Depending on what they choose to go for. So there is a Super Rod. They already did use Artisan this turn, but if they choose to go for Double Charmander, we can potentially take a knockout with Greninja. It's all going to come down to if we can get the Mirage Gate. And actually, worst comes to worst, we don't need it. So what we can do here is go Trekking Shoes. We play 3 Super Rod, so having the energy isn't too bad. I think what we'll do is get rid of the metal here. We get a Palpad as well as Nest Ball. So what we're going to do is we'll use Escape Rope, see what my opponent wants to bring up. There's the Arceus. We'll go Cramorant, prematurely attached to the Greninja, and we'll go Boss's Orders onto the Charmander. Use that Spit Innocently, and now we have a 50-50 chance of grabbing ourselves a Colress, which will allow us to fill up the Lost Zone some more, and we do get the Colress, so not looking too bad. We have Palpad into double Colress, just in case we get Iono'd again, so things are not looking too bad for us. Right now, the showcase has been, really just messing around with the Lost Zone engine and being able to Mirage Gate, but I think we're in a super solid position right now. And if we can pull off the Dialga VSTAR, we'll be able to go Arceus V, into anything else that we need. So there's the Charmander coming out, my opponent using Jacques, so no supporter for the turn that we have to worry about. There's the Starbirth. So if my opponent takes a knockout here, which I don't think they'll be able to, but if they find a world in which they do, we do have access to Raihan, as we know it is in the deck, so just have to be wary of the energies. So there is the Entei coming down. And I don't think my opponent's going to have too much to do. There is the Quick Search. They can't Rare Candy into the Charizard just yet. So I think our line of play next turn will be potentially taking a knockout on the Charmander. And then going from there. As long as we hit a switching card, we should be okay. And there is the Manaphy. So Manaphy is going to be a bane to our existence, but it's not too bad. So the first thing we'll do is use the Colress. Looking at what's in our hand, I'm going to grab the Trekking Shoes. I have one Super Rod left, so I'm not too worried about that. And then we have the Energy as well. So what we can do is use the concealed cards, discard a metal, draw 2. We get the Dialga VSTAR. And then we have Trekking Shoes to be able to dig. We do want the double Mirage Gate. And we'll go Trekking Shoes again. And yes, we will grab the Psychic. Looking at what's in the deck, as long as we have some Mirage Gate targets, we should be okay. So we can attach Retreat. We could hit for 220, take another turn, and then start to set up there. So what we'll do is use Super Rod. We'll put, let's see. I'm not going to have enough to be able to search, I don't think. I think what I'm going to have to do, we'll use one Mirage Gate, so we can grab these two, and then another one goes there for the metal, and then we need another metal for us to be able to do what we need to do. But all is well. It's not the end of the world. I think the best way for us to approach this is honestly just use Spit Innocently for 110. And if my opponent ends up not KOing this Cramorant and instead going for the Dialga, then we can hit 110 again. That leaves it with 60, and then we can potentially go Sableye, try and set up the rest of what we need to do. So my opponent not going to be able to do too much. They probably are going to attack with the Arceus in order to, set up how they need to. And if we can draw ourselves a Metal Energy, then we do have the ability to actually use the Star Chronos into the 40+40. So if we have 4 on us, that will be 200 total. So depending on what my opponent brings up, we can clean up with a Sableye. I think it's just going to be sort of risky on, what my opponent wants to do. So there's a switch. My opponent going into the Entei. There's the boss's orders. This I'm completely fine with because I can Mirage Gate and put 180 on here, which means that we can clean up going 70 into 50, which is exactly 120. So Sableye should be able to knock out the Manaphy as well as the Entei. So not looking too bad. I'm going to go into the Greninja just to be safe here. And we get a Metal Energy. We'll use Artisan just to benefit a little bit, see what's in our deck. So we do have 2 metals left. And unfortunately, our Hisuian Heavy Ball is prized. And so is our Sableye. So we're going to have to be super careful of that. I think the best thing that we can do... let's see. I think what we do is we'll use concealed cards, get rid of the Metal Energy. We know that we have 2 to draw into, and speaking of it, there it is. I don't think Dialga is going to do too much in this game, so I'm not going to bench it. And then we'll just use the Moonlight Shuriken. I know that I can't hit the bench, but if my opponent does give me the chance to actually KO this Entei, we're in a super good spot because all I need is 2 prizes, and then I can actually start to set up the knockouts that I need. So it's going to be a little bit iffy. My opponent is going to have to take a knockout with this Entei here and just give it to us. But prizing the one of Sableye as well as the one of Hisuian Heavy Ball definitely did hurt. But I don't think it's the end of the world. I think we have some other ways to be able to combat what we're trying to do. So we are down 2 Mirage Gates. We know that we have 2 more. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that needs to be done, and I don't think there is. And if worse comes to worse, we actually might be able to attack with a Comfey. It's really just going to depend what we have going on. So my opponent is attaching to the Charizard. And if my opponent takes a knockout here with Entei, we will be able to win the game. If not, it's going to be a little bit more awkward. We are going to have to palpad a boss just so that way we can potentially take a knockout. So there's the boss's orders. Going for the Cramorant. Again, that is a little bit unfortunate, but not the end of the world. I think we might still have a way to set up 1 attacker, so it's going to be risky. So there's Colress. So we'll use the Colress, just give ourselves an idea of what's in the deck. So we do have Escape Rope as well as Raihan. I think Raihan is going to be one of the most important cards that we have to work with. I don't think I'm going to need Pokestop, so we'll grab the Escape Rope. And then next turn I need to Raihan as well as attach. Hopefully get the game on board there, and then we should be okay. So what we'll do is Flower Selecting. We'll grab the Lost Vacuum, just so that way we can thin ourselves. And then from there, we're going to just pass. We do have access to Palpad. And as long as my opponent doesn't get rid of this Entei and just takes a knockout, we should be okay. Now, if my opponent has another boss, we're going to be in a very bad spot, but not the end of the world, I suppose. There's the Fleet-Footed coming down. And there's the Burning Rondo. So we still are on track to win this game. Because if we get Hisuian Heavy Ball, we should be fine. There's quite a few cards that I can actually get rid of in my hand, so that way I don't have to worry about too much. So what I'm thinking we do is we'll go for the Raihan, put back the water, and then we can go here. And then to thin as many cards as possible, we'll go for the boss's orders as well as the Colress. And then what we can do is use Lost Vacuum. We'll get rid of the Dialga. And get rid of the Artisan there. If my opponent Ionos me to 1, I'm kind of in a bad spot, but I know that I'm for sure getting one of my 2 supporters, so I don't hate that. I think what we do is go here. We'll use a single Mirage Gate. And then from here, let's see. If I draw the boss, I just lose. I think that doing what I did kind of messed me up, but it's not the end of the world. We'll use the other Mirage Gate just to fail it, and then we'll use the Moonlight Shuriken, and I should be able to get what I need here with the Sableye or the Hisuian Heavy Ball, which means that I should be able to set up what I need. And if I did my math correctly, I I should be technically 1 card short, so I just have to hope that Sableye or the Psychic aren't on the bottom of the deck. And then we can just use Sableye and go for the Manaphy. So, just need to hope that my opponent doesn't play something like Iono, and if they do, it's going to be a little bit awkward, but it's not the end of the world. And actually with the Comfey, we actually do have the ability to set up the knockout next turn, because we are at 13, so and we'll be able to have a Colress plus Comfey, so we should be okay. So there's the Iono, and if I do top deck the Colress here, it'll be great. So we don't, there's the boss's orders. Now it's going to come down to setting up the Sableye in order for us to be able to benefit as much as possible. So we're going to draw the Colress for turn. And I should have it because I need Colress energy as well as a switching out. So we go here, here, and here. Which means now we can go Sableye, attach, use the switch cart into Sableye, and then use the Lost Mine to be able to go 40, 30, and then we'll just put the rest on this pesky Arceus. So, taking the last prize here, the other Colress experiment, so that kind of worked out how we needed it to. I wasn't able to pull off the Star Chronos yet, but we definitely will get into a game number 2 and see if we can do the same thing. Hopefully can set up the Dialga VSTAR this time. Alrighty guys, into the second game. Let's see what we can do with Dialga. Hopefully we are able to set it up unlike that very first game. I want to be able to, showcase the aspects of Dialga with Lost Box, and I think last game really just showcased Lost Box doing Lost Box things. So we were close to being able to pull it off. I think I should have grabbed a Super Rod, but my opponent is letting us go first. So hopefully we don't get donked here. We do have Comfey, so we can start with it. We do have Trekking Shoes. We do get a Mulligan, so we are playing against the annoying Baxcalibur, but thankfully we hit weakness on Chien-Pao, and we can take multiple prizes. So I think what we're going to have to do is Star Chronos into a boss's orders to take a multitude of prizes. So the most important card that we are going to need is actually the Manaphy. So what we'll do here, we don't have Manaphy. Manaphy is prized. Do we have the Hisuian Heavy Ball? We don't. I'm starting to think that maybe my list doesn't play Hisuian Heavy Ball. So, and if it doesn't, well, then that's okay. Here we are. So first thing we'll do is Flower Selecting. We'll grab ourselves the Super Rod, so that way we have the ability to Super Rod in coming turns. We do have the ability to Comfey. I don't want to get rid of too many mental energy, so manually retreating and doing all that is a lot more beneficial for me, which I'm okay with. So we do get the other Comfey, so we can actually use Escape Rope, go into this one, Flower Selecting. I don't think that there's anything I need to fully battle VIP pass for, but we will go for it just to be safe. So we'll grab the, let's see, have I attached retreated yet? I don't think I do. I think I can resolve all 4 Comfeys right now, and then actually have the Dialga to power up. So, I haven't manually retreated yet. What we'll do here is just so I can potentially save the energy, and we are able to, so we'll use Trekking Shoes, grab Trekking Shoes. We're just going to thin as much as possible, just so that way we do have the ability to set up the turn 2 next turn. And then what we can do is switch cart into the Comfey, use that Flower Selecting, grab ourselves the Colress. We just have to be wary of how many energy we do have left. But the Colress plus Comfey next turn will put us at the 7 mark, which means all we need is to make sure that we can, resolve everything else that we need. So what we'll do is just pass, and then now it's going to come down to if we can pull off the turn 2 and also get a boss's orders going. And if we do, we are in a good spot. So my opponent is playing Cross Switcher, so that is something to keep in mind. And my opponent does have Manaphy, so the Radiant Greninja is not going to be as optimal as we want it to be, but it's not the end of the world. I think the best thing that we do is go Star Chronos into potentially 4 prizes, depending on what my opponent brings up, and then just finish off with Sableye Cram. I think that's going to be the most efficient way for us to potentially take these prizes. So my opponent just passes. Not too much going on for them. So I think what we'll do is use the Flower Selecting. Do I want Switch Card or do I want Palpad? I feel like Palpad will do me better, so I'm going to go for the Palpad. Then we'll go Chorus Experiments. I guess this is what we're going for. Because now we have energy to discard and draw. So we can use the concealed cards. Draw us 2. So we get a water. Let's see. I think what we do here is go Escape Rope. See what my opponent decides to go into. They give me the Manaphy. Let's see. I'm not too worried about anything right now, so I think I can safely just go into the Comfey. And then what we can do is attach. And then we'll just start thinning as much as possible. So we'll grab the Iono. Evolve. And then we can use the Lost Vacuum to get rid of the Pokestop. And we'll use 1 Mirage Gate just to get an idea of what's in the deck. So we do have the ability to potentially set up next turn. It just comes down to if we can hit a Metal Energy or not. I may have played a little bit too aggressive, but it's all good. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end all be all. And we can go into the Star Chronos for 220, take another turn. And if my opponent decides to go into Chien-Pao, we are in a good spot. So we just have to make sure that we can get the Metal Energy. And then we'll be okay. So we'll probably use Mirage Gate, shuffle these 2 back, and then start to set up the rest. So, because we know that we have 1 left, and we have 1 here. So as long as we can hit another Mirage Gate or something along the lines of that, we should be okay. So there's the Ultra Ball coming down. My opponent is going to discard. There's the Baxcalibur. The Industrious Incisors for 2. There's another Chien-Pao. Another Frigibax. And my opponent just passes. So I think what we need to do to be able to establish as much as possible, we'll go Flower Selecting. We get the Metal Energy that we did need. So we can go here, and then we can go Colress. Colress can grab us this, and I guess Cramorant. I just need to make sure that I do have a way to kind of switch what I need to. So we'll go Super Rod into these 2. Go for the Mirage Gate, grab these 2, and we don't have Boss in the deck, but we do have the ability to potentially get it. So definitely will be okay with that. And then we can retreat. We can go for the Star Chronos just for 220, taking another turn. And then whatever my opponent brings up, we'll be able to handle. We do get the Psychic Energy, which means that we can set up potentially for anything else that we may need. My opponent is going to need a lot to be able to KO this. They need 5 energy. There's none in the discard. They have to pull off 2 Chien-Pao. They don't have any draw. So what we're going to do, I think we'll just Metal Blast for 400. take the knockout here. My opponent needs quite a lot to be able to really do anything, so I'm not too worried about that. We do have one super odd gun as well as a second one. I think it's just going to be a bit awkward as far as what my opponent does, so they do have the rare candy Baxcalibur. We know that they have another Baxcalibur in their hand. So they need to be able to find 5 energy in order to KO this Dialga. Otherwise, we are smooth sailing. We can just take a knockout, go into Cram, go into Sableye. The only issue is that we don't have any more switching cards. So, canceling Cologne, Superior Energy Retrieval. They can get 1 energy back and potentially go 3 with the Chien-Pao. So there's the Shivery Chill. So they need to find 2 more energy unless they have 4 in hand. There's the Attach Return. There's the Super Cold. And now we're going to be able to find out if they have 2 more energy that they hit off of this barrel. If they don't, they need to hit Superior, Retreat, all the fun things like that. Otherwise, I think we're in a good spot. There's the Super Cold. Do they hit the other 2 energy? And they don't. So we're not getting one shot just yet. So we can take 2 more prizes. And then we can start to set up on the other Chien-Paos, go from there. So not looking too bad at all. And we have a very thin deck. So I'm not too worried about the rest. So the Hailblade coming down. And we are down 2 switch cards, 2 rope. 3 switch card, 3 rope. So we should have 1 more switch cart. And then we should be okay. And we actually do have the switch as well, which means that we can go into the Sableye. We'll go Trekking Shoes just so that way I can see what is in the deck. And then now what we can do is use the Metal Blast for 400, taking 2 prizes. And as long as we get a switching card here, we should be okay. So there's the switch card as well as the boss. So next turn, we can just go Cramorant into the Chien-Pao, into Sableye. And then we also have boss, just in case my opponent does KO something along the lines of the Chien-Pao. Or, sorry, not the Chien-Pao, if they KO the Cramorant. So there is the energy attached to the Chien-Pao. Super Cold going down. There is an Iono. Iono hurts, but it's not too bad. I should have used the rest of what I needed, but thankfully we actually do have access to the Raihan as well as boss. So what's in our hand is not looking too rough. We do have the ability to attach the water to the Comfey, and then we can also go for the knockout with boss's orders next turn. So I'm not hating the way that things are going. And we should still have 1 nest ball, I believe, unless we only play 3. I might only play 3. I'm not too sure off the top of my head, but my opponent going for the Superior Energy Retrieval. And if they choose to take 3 prizes here, that's fine. What we could do is, let's see. So my opponent just going for the Chien-Pao build-up, which is fine. There is the Hailblade. They're going to be able to discard 1 energy and take the knockout. But what we do have access to is Raihan, as well as being able to potentially mill some cards. So I'm not too upset with where we're at. And our top deck is the Iono, so we can see some other cards if we need to. We have the Flower Selecting. I'll grab the Mirage Gate. And then what we can do is use the Raihan, attach the energy to the Comfey. And then we can go into, let's see. We'll grab the Cramorant. Hit for 110. We can mill some cards as long as we don't hit the Sableye. Even if we do, we have ways to get it back. So it's probably going to be a good idea to self-mill. So we'll use the Pokestop, get Battle VIP Pass. That's fine. It's not the end of the world. And then we can just retreat, go into the Cramorant, and we can use the Spit innocently. And we have 3 turns to try and take down this Chien-Pao. So if we get knocked out, we know we have access to Switch. We know we have access to some other cards, so we should be okay. We just need to get a Super Rod in order to get back this Sableye. Aside from that, I think we should be okay. There's a Super Rod coming down from my opponent's end. We can potentially boss stall the Bibarel as well. My opponent is down 5 energy. And there's the Irida, so we don't have to worry about an Iono. So as long as in the next 2 turns we find a switching card, the Psychic Energy, as well as a Sableye, or the recovery of the Sableye, I should say, we should be okay. And we're going to look at quite a few cards this coming turn, so I'm not too worried about that. We're going to be able to look at 5 cards, 6 with the draw for turn and the Pokestop, so we should be able to set up what we need to. There's a cross switcher going down. Not too sure what my opponent is wanting to cross switcher. They don't KO this Cramorant, we just are able to win the game. We can dig through enough to be able to grab something like the 1 Super Rod that's left, and then we have Cramorant into the boss's orders. So I think we'll be okay. I don't think that there's a win con that my opponent can go for. I think they just kind of sealed the deal with that. So they can take a knockout with Greninja, but then we just promote the Cramorant, boss up the Chien-Pao, take 2 prizes, and then we're good to go. So there is the Hail Blade. My opponent has to discard 3 energy to be able to KO this Greninja. And I will still showcase to you guys the aspects of what I was going to do. So we have the draw for turn, which is a Super Rod, which means that what we can do is use the Flower Selecting. Flower Selecting can grab us the Psychic Energy. And then what we can do is use the Pokestop. And we grab 3 switching cards, which means that technically I would have been able to use the Super Rod. Super Rod could put back the Sableye as well as some energy, just so that way I had some ways to draw out of things. So we can just put these back. And then we had the Mirage Gate grabbing us 2. Just so that way we could set up the pivots. And then we had the, next turn guaranteed Sableye. So that way next turn we could set up as much as we wanted to. So what we'll do here is just go for the play that we talked about. So we'll just go boss on the Chien-Pao. And then use the Spit innocently, taking 2 prizes. And even if my opponent Iono'd us next turn, we would have been okay. We would have been able to take a cleanup knockout on the Chien-Pao with 110 on it. So I think everything kind of went the way that it wanted to. We got to showcase building up the Lost Zone more with the Star Chronos. So if you guys did enjoy today's video, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Later.